So just if you don't mind just saying your name and Unruler, that would be great. We'll just go for it.
Yeah, my name is Aaron Shorn. I'm the head of growth and community at Unrulr, and I'm joyously sharing out, something that I believe can benefit the world and learners. As I said before, like I've often described this as a Humans of New York in education. The ability via mobile or web browser to allow learners to both document for themselves and create these living and breathing portfolios, but to also be in private communal spaces where they're posting and commenting and adding value to each other's lives. I'm really influenced by Ron Berger's book, An Ethic of Excellence, where he talks about artifacts of excellence, student work that can be way more powerful than anything a teacher delivers. And for me, I'm interested in this tool and platform shifting a power balance and allowing learners to have greater agency over their learning, but also for learners to teach other learners and to have a situation where the teacher is not the sole purveyor of truth. And so Unruler does that by having learners document through multimodality, through multimedia, by choosing media and writing that kind of authentically fit how they're working. That works in a community that has prompts and kind of scaffolded discussion boards, but it also works when learners are just documenting for the sake of documentation, where they're capturing the products they're working on, the process, the identity, hope, like what we just talked about before, that beautiful way of being seen and heard and sharing out who you are, has been a really powerful part of the tool's growth. And I think being mobile based, like, I'll stop my share for a second. Like when I first saw Unruler, I was confused at why I was looking at a cell phone because I'm so used to crappy LMSs on someone's web browser, right? And it's not an LMS, but even still, it was so freeing to see something be mobile, right? To be live, for you to be able to just kind of capture it. And I think having a UX and UI that meets young adults and learners where they live on their devices is powerful, but then also having a web browser version that honestly looks incredible too, and allowing that learner to choose what they're going to use. And I think, that like cliche image of a researcher in the 70s with their tape recorder. Like to me, that's what the mobile phone is in Unruler. It's just this ability to capture something in the moment. And we see so many really cool video reflection exit tickets after an experience, that allows a learner almost like a pensive to be able to kind of have this library or knowledge base. What's made us really sing is this ability for any learning community to localize how they assess and how they track learning. For them to be able to take their competencies, their values, their KPIs, their portraits of a graduate, whatever they want to show evidence of, and have them turn them into tags. We call those COGS, concepts, outcomes, goals, or skills, to create whatever set or framework, and to be able to allow a cohort of 10 or 100 to be able to, every time they're posting, tag that post, self-assess, do this cool metacognitive activity where they're actually reflecting on what skill or capacity they're showing evidence of. And one of the things I've really grappled with as an educator is how to not overstructure an experience, to not create too many assignments, to not create too many milestones. And one of the things that I utilized was this feature called Journeys, which allows a learner to go back and look at their posts and create a narrative, a story, a journey, and curate and pick, 3, 4, 5, 10 posts and turn them into this really beautiful timeline to kind of have this summative narrative or story of what they learned or achieved over time. Unruler works through single sign-on. So whether it's on the app on your phone, or in this case, web browser, and your home feed is like the front page of Reddit. All of the learning communities that you're a part of, this use case is actually higher ed. This is a assessments and education class that's using Unruler. Um, and or we see a ton of usage in middle school and high school. Your home feed is just all of the learners, all of the communities that you're a part of kind of in one place. And the power of that is that you can provide feedback a lot quicker. One of my biggest, learning lessons in education was just providing feedback before it was too late. And to drill down into a specific learning community, as opposed to kind of having this main feed, you hit search and you're able to directly click into a specific kind of private community, in this case of 16 learners. I'll try not to tear up. This was a class that I co-taught in Hawaii on the Big Island. It was a senior capstone course, a culminating experience for seniors. And Pua Lincoln is their teacher, my mentor, dearest friend, the greatest educator I've ever come across. And she used Unruler as an onboarding tool, as a culture tool. Humans of New York did kind of from the beginning. She told her students the journey that they would be embarking on. We took our competencies, we took our rubric and turned them into the cogs that you see here, collaboration and ideation, communication and ideation. And Pua set the stage for what would kind of be our main kind of learning vessel for the year. And then she asked her learners that complex and simple question, who are you and what fuels you? And hope to our earlier conversation, like this is ultimately why I joined this company, because Unruler gave Pua and I insight into who Naya is and her connection to the ocean. And this became really the centerpiece of the rest of the year as we were doing agile project management, lean startup methodology. As Naya was building out her business and her ideas, it was posts like this that allowed Pua and I to help her and guide her. It's my favorite post on Unruler. It's a learner who doesn't feel comfortable in a Brene Brown circle sit where we share our feelings or writing a 5 paragraph essay on who she is. But she has no problem.
Hey, hey, come, get on the phone.
She has no problem showing who she is via video. She has no problem displaying her connection to her Paniolo, cowgirl, Big Island heritage, or how important family is for her sister. And posts like this, Ethan's connection to music, Kavehi's connection to the ocean, allowed Pooh and I and the rest of the cohort that was seeing this in this private community to understand and guide and kind of co-create with these learners. And, we were doing Kanban, project management, we were capturing the growth of their projects. But honestly, Pua taught me kind of the magic and secret sauce of Unruler was capturing experiences and process. And there was this moment where we went to a heiau, a kind of spiritual and significant kind of place and site for Native Hawaiians. And Pua told everyone to pull out their phones and document how they were feeling in the moment because she knew that once we got on the bus, we'd all forget. And this reflection is a very profound thing to see and hear, not just in the world of education, but just in working with human beings. And Pua gave Naya the space and pause and time to be able to capture this reflection. And this post on Unruler became the centerpiece of Naya's presentation at the end of the school year. In Hawaii, we say ho'ike, which means celebration of learning, this big celebration of learning. And this was the post that she shared, and everyone's in tears. And then she used it, as a jumping off point to showcase and bring out this incredible Ali'i surfboard, Native Hawaiian surfboard that she made many iterations of. And she would have never gotten there without that post that was there before, without her understanding herself and her culture. And, for Sarah, for Naya, for others, Unruler helped to foster a sense of belonging. Unruler allowed me as an educator to document, for the teachers that I was managing in our big community of practice in PLC, what we were doing out in the field.
When you pull this top over, it turns into another knot. You got to keep it down here.
It allowed people to be transported into an experience, and it allowed us to capture what usually goes missing in education. And what we're trying to do is make process enshrined within the tool. One of my other favorite use cases is an all-girls school in Kansas City, Missouri. When I hit filter, you can see what their cogs are, what their tags are. They took their learner success outcomes or their portraits of a graduate, and they turned them into tags. And they did that really cool work of having the kind of sentence that goes with it that you see a lot in education. And what's awesome for this community of 20 learners is I can hit informed critical thinker and inclusive community builder. And when I hit filter, I only see the posts that these young women tagged with those 2 skills or competencies. It allows me to holistically understand what's happening, and I can see trends within this class. I can see that we have tons of evidence of growth-minded learner. Each icon represents a post that was tagged. I can see that we have less for humble difference maker, and it allows me to make curricular decisions around what we're doing well and what we're not. It also allows me to drill down with permission to share and click on Claire's post and see her profile and see her posts, her comments, to see her personal trends, to see over 6 months which evidence she has and which evidence she's lacking in. But most importantly, it just allows me to have my learners be seen and to understand who they are and where they're coming from. One of my favorite posts that they did, I love the Simon Sinek work they did, kind of capturing their start with why activities, Unrulr kind of becoming a knowledge base of their ideas and drawings. But one of my favorite posts was actually done by a teacher. Um, a teacher was documenting these amazing young women creating period poverty kits for women in downtown Kansas City that don't have access to menstruation products. And the teacher was the documentarian at Unrulr. She was capturing all of this awesome work, and she was the one kind of tagging the competencies. But she ran the single coolest protocol I'd seen around inquiry and documentation. Each learner commented on the post. Claire building off of Caroline's point, Lucy building off of Claire's. And what was now documented was this kind of daisy chain of conversation and inquiry. And we're seeing just so many uses of the tool. We're seeing the power of prompts, of kind of guiding learners and these really cool prompts. John Nash at the University of Kentucky is using Unrulr with his undergrads and PhD students. He teaches a design thinking course, and all he cares about is metacognition. All he cares about is displays of learning how to learn and metacognition.
Hi, guys. I'd like you to reflect candidly on the discovery phase, doing empathy, need finding, and synthesis. What was the most challenging part of this process?
And all he wants is video reflections. These are really important for him to understand what stage his learners are in the design thinking process. And they're giving him feedback on if the class is moving too fast or too slow. When you hit self in Unrulr, whether it's your daughter or whether it's me who's trying to build out a portfolio of learning, you get this picture of who you are, all of the posts that you've created that you can curate. And you can turn these posts into journeys. Like I mentioned before, you can take a post and interconnect multiple ones and turn them into this journey. You'll see those footprints, this kind of beautiful timeline that I've curated that tells a story maybe of a growth of one skill, or maybe the growth I've done over a project. I can click into it. I can scroll through it, kind of show you, what I did, what I'm working on. I can present directly from it in that Pechachuca style of just the imagery. You can get a glimpse of my family here, and honestly why I miss Hawaii so desperately so much. There's just an ability to share out and curate and do the metacognition of kind of choosing and telling the story that you want to tell. What I geek out over is there's an ability to publish a post in Unrulr, to take something that was private and with the right security settings, share it with the world. And I don't know why yet, but this is totally game changing in education technology to me. Like the ability to take a post, not at the end of the experience, but at any point, and share it out with the world, right? Like to be able to send this to parents and families, to send this to colleges, to send this to, anyone that you're trying to show your work to. And for us, we're trying to interconnect those. So if you notice, there's these white globes in the top right. These are all the posts that I've published, and I can unpublish them. And when I hit this green button, this green globe at the top, shout out to Green School and all the other green organizations that have influenced us. And you can turn that, I'll just throw it in here, into a unique hyperlink that basically becomes a portfolio or journal of your work that you can iterate and change, that you can continuously kind of update. And there's like 20 more use cases I want to share with you, but I'm just cognizant of time. Like for us, it's like, how do you marry qualitative and quantitative data? How do you root an educational experience in the identities and backgrounds? And how do you give learners agency and choice over how they're displaying their knowledge?
Wow. Aaron, and how do they feel seen and heard and use something that they already gravitate to?
Totally.
It's like, I don't want to use the related to Snapchat, but they document their lives in various platforms that are not part of school. So this is a rich tapestry they're building, using some of the same habits and behavior. That's something you and I talked about earlier, was some of the platforms I've seen for portfolio building and assessment in schools, the habit that the educators are asking the kids to build is not intuitive. It is not, doesn't speak to them. But when I look at what you're building, it speaks to the way that teenagers and young people are thinking, acting, and being. And that sense of identity and connection and belonging is just, wow, it jumps up. And I am so excited to connect you with more people. If you could share, before we end, if you could share, who are you looking for? Who do you want to work with? What dots do you need connecting?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're at this really beautiful stage where use cases and case studies really matter, where innovative practitioners, where districts, small institutions, and large schools allow us to create new features, like that journey feature that I shared, which came from working with a lot of cool big picture learning schools. So we need clients, right? We need schools to show the efficacy of the tool and, like every company, revenue. And I think we need people like you, um, people that are in the work, people that are that have trust built with great institutions, great learners. We see really beautiful fit in grades 6 through 12. We're starting to see some really awesome fit in higher education. We see education departments as a really cool fit of the kind of meta usage of the tool. And we're starting to see fit in philanthropy, honestly, too, where a funder can take its KPIs or metrics of success, just like I showed you with school and their competencies, and create a communal atmosphere for their fundees and kind of lean into kind of greater agency within their fundees too. So yeah, I think if you're embarking in learner agency equity, and I don't know if innovation means anything anymore. I think it gets used overly, but like innovation and learning, I think this is a beautiful tool to capture and document it.
I totally agree. I'm so thrilled to have met you, and I am going to be diving in.
Oh, I'm excited.